The Farmer Roundtable series is a monthly space for farmers to come together, share experiences, and talk about what's working and what's challenging when it comes to market access in the Granite State. So the whole series is about market access and different parts of the market access. Each month will feature the different topic related to building and expanding farm markets and joining the conversation to share resources. We'll have different organizations throughout the series and hopefully answer some questions and make some connections directly with farmers. These sessions are a great way to learn, collaborate, and hopefully strengthen the New Hampshire network in a supportive community. So this meeting is hosted by the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New Hampshire, and it's funded by the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. So tonight we're going to hear from a few people. First, Roanne at the Monadnock Farm and Community Coalition is going to share some about the organization. And either Gail or Sean, I'm not sure who's going to do it, but one of them are going to share about the Claremont Growers Collaborative. And Olivia is going to be sharing about the Mount Washington Eaters and Growers up in the North Country. And we're also going to briefly hear, if she's here, we'll be hearing from Donna about a project that's just getting going over on the coast with the New Hampshire-Vermont Collaborative called Food Matters. So I'm going to turn this over to Roanne from the Monadnock Farm and Community Coalition, and you can hear from Roanne.
Hi, everyone. I recognize a lot of people on here. I'm happy to see some familiar faces. And yeah, welcome to everyone who's here tonight. I'm always really excited to have conversations about how and hear from other folks about how they're going about, better connecting farms to consumers in their respective regions. And to that end, I'm from the Monadnock Farm Community Coalition. We've been together since 2013. We have over 150 member organizations at this point, and around, I just added two more, so 76 individual members. And we come together regularly. We bring our stakeholders together regularly to build, to cultivate projects and actions that are hopefully building a robust, accessible, and sustainable local food system in the Monadnock region. So we do that by having 4 quarterly forums, and we're actually getting ready to do 3 in a row, which is probably why I have bags under my eyes. But we used to help New Hampshire Food Alliance with a policy forum. And this year we're going to be offering a Monadnock Agricultural Policy Forum in January, the beginning of January. And then we're doing a Farmer Appreciation Night and Film Festival, Feast on This Film Festival. It's a 2-night dealio with a lot of great films we're setting up this year, which are going to be screened at the Monadnock Food Co-op and the Farmer Appreciation Night. We usually get around 70 farmers there. And it's just a good time to connect with one another. And lastly, we're going through a 5-year strategic planning. So we're having a summit in November. And we're already planning for next year, what our forums will be. And we also have work groups, most of whom meet monthly. And so we have quite a widespread range of partners, from farm service to public health to educators, city officials, stakeholders in general, and a lot of farm service organizations, or farmers. That's what I miss, farmers. Hello. So yeah, that's how we work. We've been doing this for about a little over 12 years now, which is pretty exciting. And we have a monthly newsletter, and we do a lot of social posts, and we do all the stuff that people do to better, connect folks with food. So that's who we are. The way I was looking at the questions and what you were looking to hear from, we connect a lot with our farmers. We have an advisory board that consists of, I think, 28 farm families at this point, and then we have farmers on our board. And we have ongoing e-blasts about by topic, really. So we have four work groups. One is farm to cafeteria, one is food access. We actually lead the community health improvement plan for Healthy Monadnock Alliance in this region. So we do a huge amount of work with food access agencies, and then policy, and then lastly, infrastructure, which is all around farm needs and collective marketing and whatever. We're really looking forward to hearing from our constituents, our members primarily, which are a lot of them are farmers, about envisioning the next 5 years for the coalition and what they may want to see happen, by going through a lot of questions that I gave them for each goal of our mission, I'm sorry, of our strategic plan. Um, so we're specific to marketing. About 2 or 3 years ago, we got a grant from Gail to put together a labels that I had come up with a logo that was made by the same graphic designer who did our logo, which I love. And we decided to start toying with the idea of building an agricultural identity for this area as opposed to just come to the Monadnock region and, for recreation or hiking or camping or swimming in lakes, or going to camps. Because we have a very wide variety of farm businesses in our area. And that and the fact that we have a co-op that this is a true story. And how long do I have? Because,
About 10 minutes, so you're
oh
about
my goodness.
halfway
Okay,
there.
good. I'm okay. So one day in the summer, 3 or 4 years ago, I was at the Monadnock Food Co-op, and there were some people from outside of our area, and they were trying to find out which pound of ground beef to buy. And there were such a wide variety of choices in front of them. Two of them said local, and I looked at them, and neither of them are Monadnock grown, you know, but they were local, and the purview for the co-op is very different than it is for us as a coalition. We're focused on the 33 towns of this region. Um, and it just really occurred to me, oh, and there was one offering that was from a Walpole farm, Brookfield farm. And it costs a little bit more, but they're all pretty much in the same range. And I just thought, man, I just wanted to grab her arm and say, see that right there? Now that's local. See that Monadnock one? And of course they wouldn't know. And it didn't say local on it, which was kind of weird. Anyway, so that's where the idea came to me. And then we started talking about it. And so in the first iteration, because of a grant that we received from Gal, we were able to print off a huge amount of labels, and we gave them to Monadnock Berries and Partners Gardens and a couple of other places. And not Partners Gardens, I'm sorry, I'm blanking right now, the other farm. But anyway, they put them on their product all through the season. And they love it. There were other people who said, I do not want to do that. Obviously, if they were meat producers, they bring in big racks of meat to the butcher in store and they cut it up. And of course, this wouldn't work for everyone. We found that out. But those who loved it really, really loved it. And, we've been able to give them labels over the last couple of years. And then we started kind of building it out into a farm to fork, Monadnock grown restaurants that carry local food. And we gave them images for their menus, and we gave them a window cling that said Monadnock grown star restaurant on it. And coming this year, we're toying. We'll find out. Our name, Monadnock Farm Community Coalition. My husband doesn't. He introduces me to people. They say, "This is my wife. She works at the Monadnock Family Farm, something." And even one of our board members did that in front of a bunch of people not long ago. We've been talking about changing our name to Monadnock Grown or the Monadnock Grown Coalition because, again, we're just trying to bolster this area and to really
Mhm.
help people understand or at least name recognition of our local farms in the area. So we're going to be talking about that at our strategic planning session that's coming up. And, we're talking about redoing our website if we go that way, and a directory if we go that way, and really kind of building it out as this identity. Um,
Mhm.
so, um, yeah, I made some notes, but that was pretty much what I was going to cover in my 10 minutes.
Okay, Roanne, how can farmers in the area participate with the labeling and the organization?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I reach, farmers are busy. And I reach out to them during the winter a lot. And at
Mhm.
our Farmer Appreciation Night celebration is where we really get a hold of people. And it's really up to them about how they want to help be a part of this movement to create this agricultural identity. We did a
Mhm.
survey and 9 out of 10 people said, absolutely, I think this is a great idea. So I know Beth Hodge talked about at Echo Farm Pudding, she's talked about getting a farm tin sign that she wants to put on her farm, sign, her bigger farm sign, but
Mhm.
with this Monadnock Grown hanging down underneath it. Again, the labels are a way. Having the Monadnock Grown label on their website is one of
Mhm.
the ways that we have plans for the future. But in terms of farmer participation, it's very clear. Like these are the things that you can do. And the
Mhm.
more that you can buy into this, the more you're going to help fellow farmers and yourself.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know if I answered the question, but
Yeah.
I bug farmers. I mostly call them or I send them snail mail because, and those that I know who are on Instagram that are under 40, I get a hold of, or I should say 45. I use Instagram with them, but yeah,
All right. Well, thank you very much. So
thank you
we'll have
for
some,
having me.
oh, sure. We're going to have some Q&A at the end after we hear the presentations. So write down your questions for a little bit later. Next, we're going to hear from Claremont Growers Collaborative. Gail or Sean, I'm going to let you decide who's doing what.
Well, I can kick things off. I actually, in my role with UNH Extension, I've been honored to be part of the board of the Claremont Growers Collective the last 3 years. But there are several people on the call tonight that are actually founding members of the organization, and I'd like to really turn it over to one of them. Sean Walsh is our current chairperson. I see Lionel's on the call, and I actually see somebody, either Abby or John or both from Winter Street Farm are also on the call.
Mhm.
So I think I'm happy to turn it over to Lionel to give a little history, and I mean, I'm sorry, Sean to give a little history and talk about what we're up to. We can all, I'm sure, weigh in at some point if need be.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm happy to give a quick little introduction and Gail or Lionel or even Abby and Jonathan, if you guys have anything to add. Um, essentially a group of folks got together trying to figure out why Claremont didn't have a farmer's market anymore. And after a few meetings and trying to sort of figure out if that was even feasible, came to the realization that the reason why Claremont didn't have a farmer's market was because it couldn't support one. And that trying to start another one probably was not in the best interests of the folks that were trying to help um, get local food, get people excited about local food again. And there was a lot of discussion about a lot of various different iterations and a food hub and the potential of um, delivery services. I mean, it kind of went around and around and around. And after almost a year, honestly, we kind of settled on this idea of trying to focus on making farming economically viable and making sure that people that are looking for local food can access it. And one of the ways we decided to do that was by building out a directory. And so we have a website, and on our website, we have an interactive map that's searchable. We have over 70 member farms, producers, growers, farmers markets, processors, and it's all from either Sullivan County or the Vermont border towns. So we have a pretty hyper local focus. If you put a pin in Claremont and sort of draw a 15-mile radius, that's essentially all of Sullivan County and those Vermont border towns. So um, we have a wide representation of different members. Um, it's been really interesting as we have evolved, figuring out how to best achieve what we're trying to do, and we're still having some growing pains, and we're still trying to figure that out. We recently partnered with the Springfield Vermont Co-op, and we're working on helping to connect them with some folks from our membership that either have things that they're looking for, or what do people have that they might be willing to carry. And that's sort of a new pilot program that we're working on. We've done different food focused events. We've done partnerships with the Opera House and curated food tastings with wine and spirits. And um, we've done a lot of different things to start sort of building our brand and getting people excited about what we're trying to do. And we're still building a brand. We're only a few years old at this point. We did partner with Vital Communities on a project called the Upper Valley Resiliency Network, the UVRN. And that's sort of a collaboration of 13 different hubs from around the area. And we're kind of in a pause phase with them on that project. Yeah. So we're excited about what we're doing, and there's a core group of us. As Gail said, several of the board members are on the call this evening. We're excited to hear about what's happening with marketing sort of around the state and the area, and figure out if it's something that we can, we've thought about the idea of having labels and sort of that Claremont Growers Collective identity. And so it's nice to see that we're not the only ones thinking about that, obviously. So Lionel, Gail, anything else? I mean, I could do a screen share and show you the website if that was something you guys are interested in, but it's just a map with a bunch of dots on it that you can click on. It's pretty straightforward, but
I would just say that that we're very different geographically and culturally, I would even say, from the Monadnock region. It's a different world up here, and but it's interesting because there's actually overlap I see between MFCC and the CGC in terms of its territory. And so this may not happen today, but it would be really interesting to talk about sort of what our goals are individually and collectively, and how we can best work together to achieve those goals. Because we're really excited about what we're doing, and it's going well. We have eligibility criteria so that members have to grow or raise something local, but we wanted to really create a network. So we wanted to be able to include restaurants and markets. And so we simply apply that same criteria to them. So as long as they are including local on their menu, they're welcome to be a member as well. And we're hopeful that we'll be able to start connecting the dots between the growers and the sellers in such a way that it's mutually beneficial and actually develops more of a local economy, keeping the money here in this region. That's what I wanted to share. Anybody else? Gail, Jonathan?
I'll just add that it's been it's been great to see the response from the farms over time. You know, we're up to over 70 members, and that's been within a couple of years period. And I think you know, people are they're happy with what they're seeing. I think they're curious to see what's next and how they can participate even more, how this is going to benefit them. And I think that's what we're, as a board, we're sort of focused on, and maybe even struggling with a little bit, what's next. But I think it's all been positive to this point.
Much like with our presence here in this call is, we're trying to start building more connections in those networking sort of aspects. And we partnered with the UNH Cooperative Extension for the Sullivan County Farm Days and helping to bring that to the area and making sure that our member farms that were a part of that had signs that said, proud CGC member, and just trying to raise that brand awareness. So as we move into the next phase of the project, we can continue to build on that brand. And something that the county is doing here in Sullivan County is this sort of identity of the Sugar River region. And it's interesting as the region is trying to sort of rebrand itself, hearing the idea about the Monadnock the Monadnock Food Farm family thing. Is Monadnock grown? So it's from our beginning. Claremont was where we were centered, but it was never the end all be all. And so we've had similar conversations where we're not just Claremont, we're the entirety of Sullivan County and some towns in Vermont. So how do we build into that brand? And it's certainly a struggle for sure.
Thank you very much. It sounds like some of the things we're all struggling with are kind of the same thing. So, and then we're all thinking the same thing. So that's really great. Is there anything else, or we can move on? If people want to introduce themselves, also please put it in the chat. If you have a question, a burning question, you can also add that to the chat, and we'll get to them a little later on. So.
I don't necessarily have anything else. I'm interested to hear from folks. Lionel and I recently attended the Sullivan County Farm Bureau meeting, and we had an opportunity to do a short little presentation about who we are and what we're doing. And every time we do something like that, or there's a discussion like this where we're introducing ourselves, I find myself sort of reevaluating who are we exactly? So it's nice to be in a situation where you have to articulate who you are exactly to people who don't know you, as opposed to people you do know, and just kind of, the talking points.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great to hear from all parts of the state here. So next up, we have Olivia from the Mount Washington Valley Eaters and Growers.
Thanks,
Welcome,
Teresa.
Olivia.
Yeah, I can jump off. I don't have slides or anything, just kind of off the cuff here. But I will put our website link in the chat. So yeah, I work with UNH Extension, also like Gail. And about 10 or maybe 12 years ago now, I led a series of listening sessions in Carroll County with farmers. There was a number of them. And we had very strong turnout from all of those meetings. Free food, of course, brings the farmers out. So through these listening sessions, we were trying to understand how farmers wanted to work together. They knew that they wanted to be more collaborative, and so the listening sessions were to kind of explore that. And there were about 7 different topics that came up, kind of the normal things like distribution and food access and all the common themes that we all talk about. But the one that seemed kind of most feasible and actionable for us to work on was collaborative marketing. And so that's really been our focus area. I will share that this past January, we were awarded a 501c3 federal nonprofit status with the IRS, so that's really exciting for us. And one of the reasons that we really wanted to get that status, we were a nonprofit in the state, you know, we had a bank account and could handle money, but we weren't tax exempt. But we really have grown significantly a newer program called Food for All, which is our food access program. And so we've raised probably $50,000 since we started that in 2020. So we just had a lot of money coming in and out, and we felt like, okay, it's time, we need to have this nonprofit status. So the Food for All program has really grown a lot. We get a lot of volunteers that are excited to help out with that program in one way or another, usually fundraising efforts. But that money, we do the fundraising, and then we award vouchers to individuals in our community that want access to local food, either through a CSA share or at the farmer's market or at a farm store. And so then that customer brings that voucher to a farm and we reimburse the farm. So that's $50,000 that wasn't in those farmers' pockets before because of those fundraising efforts. So we feel really proud about that. And then this past year, I'll back up. One of the things we've always done is produce a print guide to the farms in the area. And so our service area is kind of south of Crawford Notch, south of Mount Washington, the mountains being our big divider here. So we don't go over to Plymouth at all in that area. So kind of Jackson, Bartlett, south to the Northern Lakes region, Wolfboro, the boroughs as I call them, Wolfboro, Tuftonboro. And then we also include some of the towns, bordering towns in Maine, Freiburg, Brownfield. A lot of those towns, those farms will sell into the Conway area. So it made sense to include them in our service area. So we have members in Maine as well. So we produced this print guide. I went and grabbed a copy of it, but we redid the cover art this year, which I really love. So this guide goes around the area. We put it at coffee shops and whatnot. It's a half page instead of, I think, for those that have seen like the Seco Seat Local Guide, as you know, that's a bigger one. This is a smaller one. And then we have a website as well. So there's like a QR code on the back. I'll put our website link in the chat. But that also has, the map, and you can type in eggs and find all the farms that have eggs. There's a searchable function there as well. So we redid the guide cover this year, and we also, through an award through the Champions grant that Gail used to administrate, we were able to hire a photographer this year and someone to help with our social media. So if you see on our website, there's a really beautiful video that was just posted within the last week that was made this summer. So we're going to have a lot more video content coming out over the next year with all the work that she did this summer on farms. And that is the best $9,000 we've ever gotten. Just having really high quality images and someone to help lead our social efforts is really helpful, and it's going to be helpful with our print material in the future. Our focus has really been more on the just the regular individual consumer, and not necessarily schools or restaurant. We are a very tourist economy here, primarily tourist economy, and it's just really hard to work with restaurants in this area. So it's not, it's been a focus a little bit in like the early days, our early days. We had a chef's edition to the guide at one point that we were hoping to give to restaurants, and you can filter on our website by those who sell wholesale, so that's still an option. But we're not like going hard on working with trying to get more farms selling to restaurants, where many of our farms are just very small and it's not really a suitable option for them. So we partner a little bit with the local farmers markets. We do a lot of cross promotion of the farmers markets in the area. Sometimes we table at them just to kind of build more awareness. Similar to the Claremont group and others, you know, we've done various events over the years, depending on our availability of volunteers and our interest. There's a chili cook-off, for example, in the winter, and so we've entered into that with a completely locally grown chili. And we did win. We won like a favorites one year, some kind of. We won an award one year for it. So we've done that. We did a tomato taste testing at the farmers market this year, and that was actually very, very fun event. So it kind of like the events that we do change over the years. And then I'd say a lot of our in-person events are related to our Food for All. So partnering with other groups in the area to fundraise for Food for All. There's a lot of people that are interested in supporting that work of food access. So sometimes groups approach us actually and say, hey, I do a comedy night. This has happened this year. There's a group that does a comedy night every year, and they wanted us to be the beneficiary of the proceeds. And we said, great. And so we were able to get a pretty good revenue from that for Food for All this year. So it's just getting our name out, and more people just approach us kind of off the cuff with these opportunities and partnerships. And the other thing I'll say is, you know, we really were born out of a need from the growers, and we have about half of our board members are growers, are farmers. But we also have always had eaters on our board as well. And I think that's really important too. They bring energy and ideas that are a little bit different of like on the consumer end of things, that is helpful for people that are so enmeshed in the industry. It's like, we finally have someone out from the outside talking, you know, giving ideas and saying, well, this is how I think as just a regular consumer that's not a farmer. So we've always had different eaters. We call them eaters on our board. They bring different skills, which is great. We don't have a logo or anything. That's an interesting idea. We do have stickers, which I grabbed here. This is our logo. So we give out stickers at our events and things for free. We've thought about charging, but we just give them out for free. Our logo was painted by a farmer, Natalie Beitel from Hosek Farm over in Maine. And we also sell, this is just the thing that we do, we sell upcycled t-shirts that we print, we have vegetable prints that we print onto the shirts. And so we sell those for $20 a piece. And that's another way that we generate money for our activities. So again, we have a lot of artists in our group, so they have carved these vegetable prints, and we just make them in batches and sell them. And they're great. People love our veggie print shirts.
That's great. Thank you, Olivia. All right, I think we're also going to hear, Donna's here, and we're going to briefly hear about a project that's just getting going in the Great Falls region, which I've never even heard of the Great Falls region, but I know what you're talking about. And it's a collaboration of New Hampshire and Vermont. So, Donna, do you want to give us some brief information about what's going on?
Yeah. First, I want to be sure everybody can hear me.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. And it's really great to see some of the Claremont Growers Collective people. I haven't seen you in a while.
We miss you, Donna.
Hello. um, anyways, there's a group that actually is a region. Oddly enough, there's I can go into that another time. But what's been going on here is partially resurrecting something from the ashes, but it has totally uh, flown up and become something entirely different. It's currently we are in a phase of um, administering a marketing research grant that we got through the HFFI program. And we're starting a series of meetings and administering a survey to farmers in the region. And when I say region, the way you could think of it is the if you look at Windham and Windsor counties, the border and the things kind of aligned around that border, then the Connecticut River, and then towns along bordering Sullivan County and Cheshire County. So um, that's kind of the general focus. It's kind of been a vacuum area of sorts. And the Claremont Growers Collective really has done a lot to help producers in that area as well. I want to put a plug in for that. Um, however, the premise of this group is that what's really needed in the region, and this could be several regions, but for this region, we've determined that we really need infrastructure that has capacity to handle processing, distribution, um, as well as an incubator uh, aspect to it to raise the pipeline of new farmers who are wanting to start a farm, test products, get into marketing, and all of that. The goal is to try to keep all of this production in our local region local, to capture it and have it distributed through both traditional channels as well as alternative channels that could be CSAs or helping local CSAs, independent CSAs, find products they might not have this year, for example. Um, it Other ideas are things like private label or a portion of your production going in to support, say, a co-op label or for Great Falls food hub label. But it's meant to be multifaceted and to support many organizations involved in our food system. Um, this includes, like I would look at Claremont Growers Collective as its organization unto itself, and how can we integrate or help them with what their goals are? How could they help us with our goals? If, for example, smaller scale processing or incubator processing or training for farmers, etc. So it's kind of a big project, but if you don't think big, you'll never, you know, you might as well try. So to make a long story short, I put a link in there in the chat, and I'd love it if this Sunday, October 26th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Bellows Falls Opera House, in the lower floor. We're having a kind of a kickoff to our series of focus groups for farmers, community members, food processors, etc. Um, and so we'll have farmers there. We have food, of course, from various farms and food makers in the area. And we still have space. So if there's anybody who's interested in tabling and you know, providing some food. We'd love it. Uh, so we're hoping to get the discussion rolling and get people excited and offering. We want to hear from people. We want to hear, you know, from rational ideas to like pie in the sky ideas. So that's what this first event's about, and I appreciate you giving me the time to bring this up. So
Oh, sure.
thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Donna, for sharing. I have we're going to go into a question and answer session now. And I'd like to pose a question to any of the organizations and then kind of open it up to anybody else that might have questions or any that have shown up in the chat. Is that how would, with the organizations that are here, you describe the presence or the role of organic farms in the local food network that you have? And are there any creative ways that they've been highlighted or noted that they're certified organic farms?
In our guide and online, we do, ask those questions when they fill out their survey to be in the guide. And then usually when we make our print guide, because it's a booklet, there's like so many pages that go into it. And sometimes we fill those pages with information for a consumer, a general consumer. And often that is like understanding labels and what does organic mean, what does IPM mean, and stuff like that. So often we opt to fill that space if we have it with some additional information about or certified organic. But beyond that, I think that's primarily how we would differentiate people that are organic. And then, of course, we also try to be sensitive around many of the farms are not certified, but practicing organic. So making sure we're using the right terminology with regards to that on our website. A lot of our beginner farmers don't have a web presence. A lot of the new farms don't have a web presence. They're maybe too small or just getting off their feet, or they don't have like a Google presence. So sometimes just having that web presence and ability to identify on the internet is like a good jumping off point for them to kind of develop that identity online.
I would say, let me say it's Sean here. I would say that for the Claremont Growers Collective, we have not really been in a position to highlight specifically organic growers. Only because of my familiarity to Winter Street Farm would I even be able to call them out as being certified organic growers. I don't, off the top of my head, know of any other of our members who are certified organic. I know there are some that use organic principles and practices, but otherwise it's not something that we have specifically marketed towards. We have discussed the potential of, with our online map, being able to have that be a layer tool, so that for people that is really important to be able to have that as a drop down layer. But we're not quite there yet, but it certainly has been on our minds.
Excellent. Excellent.
We September, I believe, is National Organic Month, and during that month we do a lot of posts around our organic growers, and our newsletter. We always feature, we have their links during that month in our newsletter. And when we do have a website with a local food finder, but it doesn't seem like anyone uses it. And so with this new iteration of our website, we're certainly gonna have that distilled a little bit more in terms of finding local food.
Excellent. So I open it up to anybody else that might have some questions or discussion about these organizations, other possible organizations. in the state, and it's great to hear that there's more hyper-local focus going on.
I have a question for Olivia. How do you fund your directory? Because we've had a hard time with that. Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the work is handled by extension. So a lot of, this administrative pieces sort of I kind of mesh into my own work. So I recognize that if we put that out to bid or whatever, that would be a big expense. But I do pay for the design work and the print, of course, and there's two people I pay to help produce it. So there are some fees there. And we work with our local printing press in Conway, which I feel is important, being hyper local. But most of it is covered by our membership fee. So to be in the guide, there is a suggested membership fee. And then 2 years ago, we added on sponsorship. So the second page of the guide has local business logos, and that is $150, I think. And we increased it actually the second year we did it, and quite a bit. I can't actually remember what that dollar, but that basically covers our printing costs, is the membership, the advertisements from local businesses. And that's where having the board is really helpful, because they're all friends with at least one community business. And so they can do a direct ask, where we physically go into a business and we give them our letter and say, do you want to support this guide? There's not really a lot in it. We try to sell it hard, like you're going to get all this great benefit in advertising, but really they're just doing it because they support our vision. So we have, I don't know, 15 or so maybe sponsors, and that was a good move, I think, for us. It just kind of makes it a little more sustainable. So we've never really had grant money. It's really been membership and now the sponsorships.
Thank you.
Teresa, there are a couple of questions in the chat. Do you want me to just read those out?
That'd be great. Yep. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all. This has been a great conversation, interesting to listen to. So Joyce has said this is very interesting, and in the groups working with farmers, is there any evaluation as to the effectiveness of the marketing, i.e. growing numbers of people buying local food products? And Colleen has a similar question, with the addition of which efforts have been most effective with consumers. So you can see these questions in the chat too. Thank you.
For us, I think this is really hard to track. When we created our website, that did give us Google Analytics, which is really nice. So I can see very clearly in September, October, people are searching for apples. They're searching for U-pick operations. Like, we just don't have enough apple farms in this area. So I'm always like, where can I get more people to grow apples? Because I know people are looking for that based on our Google Analytics. In terms of the guide, with it being so grassroots and organic, it's very hard to get like a bigger landscape assessment on that. But farmers do tell me that they have customers that come to their store with the guide in their hand, or we have people that leave them at an Airbnb. There's a lot of tourism up here. We try to put the guide at places. At first, we were putting them at farms, and it's like, well, if they're at a farm, they don't necessarily need a guide. They're already there. But we put it at real estate offices, at hair salons, at, places that like not the foodies aren't going, but maybe they pick it up. So just anecdotally, I know that customers are finding their way to farms. But that's not a big landscape assessment with the guide. So but I think even one new customer at one farm, that's impactful for us.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So does anybody else have a comment on that?
I would just say for the growers collective, um, we don't really have any metrics per se. We have members that have participated in various different events, and when they have a table at an event or something like that, you know, they're able to sort of drum up their own business. But we've done a couple of surveys and things like that, and we just released this last spring slash early summer a large tablet insert, which was essentially like a local guide, and seeing the one that I flipped through the one from the Mount Washington area and checked that out real quick while you were talking, and it's amazing how very similar they are. Even the calendar, like the seasonal thing, and seeing that, you know, that because we're so new, it's like everything that we're doing is still from the ground up, kind of building this and seeing that we are kind of on the same track with other folks and the approach that they're taking. Um, but it is a really good question. You know, what are the metrics? What is it? Is it actually leading to more business? And, you know, are we actually getting more consumers to purchase locally and focus locally? Um, so that's something we need to work on and figure out a way to track those metrics. And I'm not really sure how we'll do that with our particular clientele and our membership, but um,
Well, if I could piggyback on that,
yeah, of
one of
course.
the interesting things that we're finding is that some of our members actually don't want more market. So we have members that are perfectly happy with the level of sales that they're making. They don't want to grow. They don't want to get bigger. They want to be part of a community. They want to be known. They want to be acknowledged for what they do, but they're not looking for more sales. And then we have others that are looking for more. And so that's something I'm hoping we're going to look at more closely through a survey of our membership to ask that question specifically. Are you happy where you are? Do you want more? Because for those who want more, then our work is cut out for us. Again, we've got the sellers side as well, and so we'll try to. It'll be like a dance card. We try to, you know, connect the right people to each other. But there's a sizable number of our membership that are fine where they're at, or they don't want to get into another aspect of marketing because they know that there's a time suck to that. Um, and so it was kind of a surprise to me. I assumed that anyone who would join the CGC would do so because they wanted more business, but that's not necessarily true.
Lionel, I think you made a really good point there, and it's that some people are looking for a community. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of these organizations, these grassroots organizations, um, they do provide a sense of community and an opportunity to connect people who aren't typically connected. And I think that is one of the things that is a fringe benefit of what we're doing that we didn't necessarily expect. We didn't in the beginning, we certainly wanted to bring farmers together too, and have some sort of collaboration, but I don't think the sense of community was really a focus, you know, between the growers. Um, and so there has been that focus that has sort of organically kind of grown out of that, and it's really nice to see.
I'll also add that, I mean, I think the concept of evaluating is really important, and it's a hard thing to do effectively, but it really does drive where you go next. You know, it allows you to figure out what kind of success you've had and, you know, where you want to go. So I think we've made a conscious effort within the CGC to keep our members informed and try and seek input and feedback along the way. Sometimes there isn't a lot of participation in that effort, but at least you know, we're trying to keep the communication lines open. And I think a more detailed evaluation we're probably at that point where we really need to do that to help us figure out the steps for the organization.
Excellent. Yeah, and I just wanted to echo, am I on? Yes. We did a survey, it was a while ago, and we found out, we'd heard that voice that Lionel brought up. People like, look, I'm busy. I couldn't grow one more carrot if you wanted me to. But the reason why we brought back our Farmers Appreciation Night was because of a communication that we sent out a couple of years ago, and they said that was the one thing that they looked forward to the most of the entire year. You know, we don't ask them questions. We don't do anything except get them together and get some live music. And we usually have to kick them out of the room by the end of the night. And I think, you know, we do it in December. And I gotta say that we brought it back last year, and the communications between us and our farmers is a little bit more, it's been easier this year. And I think they have that connection with us, that it's not just here, please fill in another survey so that we can help you. And if I sent them one more infrastructure survey, they would probably kick me out of the county. I mean, they just surveyed out.
Okay. Yeah, I have one question for you, and then I think we're gonna be closing for the night. What would be one thing you could recommend for a farmer group, an eater group, or anybody in another region to start an organization or start some type of coalition collaborative for farmers and local food?
I would like to just say that there are often so many small groups that are disjointed that are trying to do the same things, and really taking stock of what's happening in your area already. And instead of trying to build something from the ground up, seeing if there's, a group that's already working on, or at least partially working on what you're hoping to do, and hitch your wagon to that. And um, there isn't going to be the perfect thing, but if someone or a group of people want to get involved with something and start building momentum around that, um, I think it would lead to critical mass faster, instead of all these little individual people and groups trying to do their own little thing, not being afraid to collaborate and actually work together. And it's not a bad thing if people come together, work together for a while, and then go their separate ways working on separate projects. We're all, rising tide lifts us all.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, when we first started, we knew where we needed to gather people. And so always had food. We always put it on a day that we took a census of the people who were trying to get in the room, when they'd be available. And so we'd always have a forum on that day, and we'd have a topic that was relevant to all of them, whether it was food access or policymakers or, marketing, farms, infrastructure. And people, we were nothing but a bunch of silos when we first started this work. And I think it takes time to gain trust, and to connect. So just, all I can say is be patient.
I think both what Sean and Roanne just shared resonates a lot with me and with our group. I think for us, we've been successful because we've tried to tackle one thing. We didn't try to change the world with our group of volunteers and farmers. We were like, what's the one low-hanging fruit that we can all get behind? There, of course, there's so many things, so many great causes to work towards. But being a volunteer group, we don't want to spin our wheels with our volunteer time. And so focusing on collaborative marketing was just a lot more actionable for us than some of the other topics that are important. And so I think just like narrowing that focus on the one thing, and identifying that, and then maybe, you know, another thing can come forward once you have some success and momentum after that. But don't feel like you need to change the world with your small group of volunteers.
Teresa, can I say something?
Absolutely.
Hello, everybody. Winter Street Farm, Jonathan, and then there's Jean right there. I want to really tie in with Roanne's comments on the community, and just like during the year, everything is always stressful. Farming is incredibly stressful, and yes, Lionel is also correct, and like there are members in our CGC that don't need extra markets, or local markets aren't really necessary, or uh and but what we do want, and why we're part of the CGC, is tying our, like, communicating with other farmers and building that relationship with other farmers to also acknowledge the fact that farmers aren't alone. I think farming has always been tied to the concept, or there's been a lot of like isolation, or you start your farm and you're very alone. And that becomes like, if you go down that spiral, or that hole, then you become further isolated from your community, and like disenchanted, essentially, you can become through that. Versus if we have an event that brings farmers together just to hang out and celebrate the community, and not having to worry about marketing, or selling food right then and there. And it's just that. And also, farmers for the most part go to free food when there's free food. um, and those conversations that they have with each other are essential for their well-being. There's so many times that we went to the climate farmer stuff with Vital Communities, and you would have, I think that was I think that was either the super rainy year or the drought year, I don't know which one, but we would have conversations where like, oh, we're not alone. It's fine. We're totally fine. And then now we have relationships with some of those farms of communicating. And that's sort of building that relationship, with Vital Communities or with NOFA or the CGC, and building a relationship with each other that builds that trust and the ability to come together more, and maybe even develop markets off of that, or work together on building markets. You have to build the trust and the friendship before you can dive in and do other stuff.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. Well, folks, we are at time, actually a little bit over time. I want to thank everybody for who presented, and then everybody for attending. And if you have other questions, you can certainly email me, and I can see what I can do to get answers for you. And we will have this recorded, and at some point, hopefully in the near future, it will be up on our YouTube channel and our website. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.